Hey, SMB Nation, we're back spanning the continents. Michael Jenkin down in Australia, Ken Dwight in Houston. Gentlemen, how you doing?
Good, Harry. How are you?
Good, good. I'm doing the world a favor. I'm staying off camera.
It's good to hear your voice, Harry. Good to
Yes,
hear your
sir.
voice.
Always.
Um, so Ken, you brought a topic to the table. Why don't you lead and Michael follow? But getting rid of malware takes longer than you think. Basically, I think you'll say it better.
Well, and this is actually based on a blog that was posted by Emsisoft last month called "The Ransomware Recovery Process Takes Longer Than You Think." And this is just one more example of the fact that ransomware is so much more involved than people give it credit for. Generally speaking, and it still amazes me, there are parts of the population at large that don't even know what the word ransomware means. Obviously, any of us that are in the industry, the MSPs and the IT support people are very familiar with ransomware, but there's still a lot of the techs and MSPs that have not dealt with it firsthand. And so there's still a lot of misunderstanding or underestimation of how much is involved in recovering from a ransomware incident. And that's pretty much the thrust of this blog post. And Emsisoft is a great source of information overall, and they also do it in a very readable, understandable fashion. So basically, just to hit the highlights, I have the article or the blog post in front of me, and he lists, I think there's 6 different reasons that it takes longer than you think. Number 1 is lack of documentation. 2, inadequate testing. 3, forensic investigation process. 4, poor decryptor performance. 5, communication. And 6, rebuilding and strengthening the system. And of course, in each one of these, he goes into more details of why that's such an issue. But again, there's so many things that people don't consider, starting with the fact that, a lot of times when a ransomware incident occurs, they've made no preparation whatsoever in terms of documenting what's important, the contacts, the people that need to be involved, and that sort of thing. And so it's just preparation 101, being aware of what needs to happen and what is potentially involved if or when there is a ransomware incident.
Yeah.
Along,
Michael, over to you.
Yeah, look, absolutely true. Who do you call when you've got this incident? Now, you're the business owner, you've logged in the morning, you've come up with encrypted files. Do you call your IT guy? Do you call your lawyer? Do you call your insurance company? Do you know where their phone numbers are? Did those phone numbers sit in a document that got encrypted? If you do ring the insurance company, are they going to ask you a bunch of questions? Can you answer those questions? Do you have any documentation of what backup, how regular, where it is? Do you have a copy that hasn't been encrypted? Do you have someone who's going to help you get that back onto your systems? There's so many things you need to document, you need to know, you need to practice. You need to do a DR test. You might be doing a backup. Can it be recovered? Have you actually tried to recover it? And if you've got a backup, is it yesterday's and you've lost a little bit of data? Or was yesterday's encrypted and you've got to go back a month, or who knows what you're going to go back to? And then there's the workstations. You might have backed the servers up, but let's just say that somebody got married. They put their wedding photos on their personal computer at work, and it's part of your network. Your network just got encrypted. You're going to get the server back, but this person sitting on this workstation wants their photos back as well. Do you back up their workstations? There's so much to think about, so much to plan, and you'll recover from these things so much faster if you have that plan and you've done the testing. It is a major part of what slows down these processes, people just not knowing what they're supposed to do.
Well, and I'll just make a slight modification to what you suggested there, Michael. That is that the business owner, I think in every case, needs to first contact the MSP, who in turn has this information and was hopefully responsible for gathering it, putting it together, and making it available in the first place. But the
Absolutely
IT
agree.
people obviously need to be part of the whole recovery process. Although, having said that, if there is cyber insurance involved, then it's unlikely that the MSP will be the actual person or organization responsible for the recovery. And
Yeah,
by the same
that's true.
token, the legal team and the PR team, and especially if it's a larger organization, they may have a lot of other issues that need to be considered beyond just the technical aspect of recovery.
Yeah, and it all depends on what the process is that plays out as well. I've got two recent examples of people I've worked with. One had cyber insurance. The second one did not have cyber insurance. The first one had several servers and about 40 workstations. The second one had a single server and about 6 workstations. The smaller one is the one that did not have cyber insurance. That's the one where the business owner said, just get back what you can. Even that process took over a week, at least a week. And even that process, with all the backups that he had, there were things like local email stores, PST files, on C drives that never came back. And unfortunately, that's where he stuck his purchase orders. So the legacy of his recovery for a business aspect is going to go on for months. And because he was a real estate agent, he's got trusts involved with money for clients and just different houses transferring between people. He's got a lot of stuff that he needs to get back and he can't get it back. He didn't have the insurance, but he got it up and running roughly about a week, week and a half. The other company, we're sitting at 2.5 months and we're still working on the recoveries. Part of that is to do with the insurance process, which went through a forensics team. And the forensics team then wanted the company not to use their servers or workstations while they investigated, and literally told this company, can you do without your equipment for a couple of months while we look into it? Now, for me, that was horrific, thinking, yes, they've got insurance, but hang on, it's out of my hands as an IT guy now, because it's going down a path where they're going to dig through everything. And what's the customer do? Do they pull out their iPads and pretend they're at work? Because they just don't have their equipment. And the other issue we've now discovered with this first issue under cyber insurance, they're not going to pay the ransom. Now, in some cases, some of the ransom people out there do state that if you pay the ransom, we're going to come back twice as hard and get you harder. And in this case, we can't pay the ransom because the person who perpetrated the act came from a country that under treaty, we can't pay, which is another little loophole that people need to be aware of. You may have cyber insurance. They may pay the MSP if they do the recovery work. They may pay for the forensics. They may pay for anything legal. They may pay for data leaks. But if the original hacker wants some money paid in Bitcoin to a country that your country is not allowed to deal with, legally money can't be transferred. So even if it's ransomed $1,000 or $200,000, unless you've got that money in your back pocket, it doesn't get transferred. And if you don't have a backup and you're doing all this forensics and you're without your systems for up to 3 months, how do you survive?
Yeah. Yep, it's a problem. And
just to clarify, you said the name, I think it's Emsisoft, Emsisoft.
Yes.
I'm on the web.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so folks, emsisoft.com. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, and just to pick up on what Michael was talking about there, the number 2 item that he has listed here is inadequate testing. And I think that's something that most MSPs would fall victim to or be guilty of. They may have a plan, but until they've tested it, there are going to be a lot of glitches and things that they weren't expecting. And so what they refer to as a tabletop exercise is something that's, yes, it is time consuming, and it is something that until you've seen what happens the first time you go through it, you really can't appreciate how many unknowns and curveballs you're going to get thrown. So clearly, it's important to have at least one run through of a tabletop exercise as if a breach has happened and see what all comes up. Also, as Michael mentioned, the forensic process. If it's just a matter of a smaller organization with a single server and a few workstations, no insurance, then probably forensics will not be an issue. It's just a matter of getting back in business as quickly as possible. But clearly, if there is cyber insurance involved or any potential criminal charges, then forensics is going to be an important part of what has to happen. And that too can be very time consuming and calls for a level of expertise that the average MSP will not have in-house. So that can be a big part of the overall time frame.
All right, Michael, final thoughts for this month?
Look, ransomware is nasty. And obviously, as MSPs, we try to do our best to put the right tools in place, firewalls, endpoint protection, education. We try our best. The reality is at some point, some smart cookie out there is going to find a new way to redo the ransomware to make it worse. And one of us, even as MSPs and our clients, are going to fall victim at some point. Documentation is so important. One of the things that I've learned most recently with one of these scares, you need to know what data you've got. You need to have even an Excel spreadsheet saying that this particular type of file, that's payroll. This particular type of file that contains sensitive information about this guy's financial state. You need to know that stuff because ransomware can very quickly leak into a data leak, and then you'll get questioned, what private data are you holding on particular people on your systems? So you need to not only document your systems, you not only need to document how these things go together, what products you're using, who to contact, but what is your data, what are you protecting and where it is. And as an MSP, that means we can look at that and go, oh, we didn't think of that. We better back that up as well. And we can look at things to try and make this a smoother process in the future. We can't fix this quickly, but we can fix it quicker. If we're prepared, if we've tested, if we know it's there, we know how to answer things, we need to get on with our job and get the customer up and running. Document and test.
And if you look at the cybersecurity framework that the NIST put out, the first pillar of that is identify. And identification is exactly that, documenting, identifying the assets, the things, as Sunil Yu puts it, things I care about, which is all this stuff that you really need to take a look at ahead of time so that when that incident happens, you don't have to start from scratch.
All righty. Well, I'll tell you what, gents, my lap swim time's coming up, so I gotta bring this podcast to an end. We'll catch you next month. Thanks for sticking with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Harry. Michael, good
See
seeing
you
you
later,
both.
guys.
Yep.